So I want to talk about this knife today. It's on your knife. It's an American knife made by a Texan gentleman named William Collins, who's he's a leather worker, an author, a hunter, a kydex bender, but most of all he's a custom knife maker. And this knife is made by him. The sheath isn't. I've talked about the sheath. It's made by Randy Smith of Stitch Gear Outfitters, really good sheath. The knife, however, is William Collins' knife. Now, William Collins primarily does custom work, true custom work, so you come up with a knife design or a pattern that you want him to make, you send it to him and he will make it for you. He's got a year-long wait, so it does take a wee while. Just recently, however, he's made some knives that he's thought were particularly good and has had repeat requests for those knives. So he's gone and got them computer mapped and now he can water jet them. There's 4 models that he does water jetting on. Once they're water jetted, so they go along and get cut exactly to the specifications that he has given the computer program essentially, he then hand grinds them and hand tempers them and finishes them himself. So just a way of keeping consistency and saving a little bit of time and effort. So the 4 models that he does is the Master Woodsman. He does 2 grinds of those, 1 and 2. One's more of a spear point, one's more of a drop point. He does something called the WCSK, which is the William Collins neck knife, and he does this one, which is the WCSK, which stands for the William Collins survival knife. Now, don't get put off by the term survival knife because it's got a lot more to it than just a survival knife. Now, the WCSK also stands for something else. It's what Williams thinks is the 4 pillars of what this knife should be capable of doing. That's wood stuff, so a woodsman's knife, we can get into what that will be, a combat knife, so it's capable of being utilised by a soldier, a survival knife, and we'll talk about that, and a kitchen knife, WCSK. Now by kitchen knife he doesn't mean a chef's knife or a knife that you'd use even in the home kitchen. What it means is a camp kitchen knife, so something that you can process the sort of food that you're eating while you're out camping, hunting, going bush, out in the wilds, whatever sort of what you want to call it, but essentially a knife for preparing food while you're out and about. So the knife is intended to be able to do sort of all things for all people. So generally it does a little bit of everything. Perhaps it's not the greatest at everything, but it does most things well. So that's sort of what it's supposed to be. So talking about the kitchen knife capabilities of it, does have a couple of downsides. One, it's a 4.7mm thick piece of steel, so it's a big thick chunk of steel, as you can see. So when it goes through vegetables it can run into problems. So it doesn't cut carrots well. I could tell you, you cut a carrot, it splinters. Cuts meat brilliantly, potatoes, cheese, sausages, spreading butter on bread, cutting bread, fruit, tomatoes, anything that you can slice well and easily and is slightly soft, it cuts really, really, really well. Anything where it is a hard material and kind of brittle, it tends to push it apart and splinter it. So carrots, not what this thing's intended for. Potatoes, meat, very well. So it's a good knife for those sorts of tasks. This particular one's 01 tool steel as well, and it's serial numbered. 33033 is the number of this one. Now, survival, yes, it is intended to be a survival knife. I've seen Williams hammer this thing through cinder blocks and hammer it into trees and stand on it and I've seen them cut out locks from a car, so it's tough. But survival knife, two quotes come to mind when I think of survival knife. First, the knife you have with you is the best survival knife. Second, you need a sharpened crowbar to be a survival knife. So this one, I think, is sort of at the limits of portability. It's a big knife. It's a 5 3/4 inch blade, about a 4.5 inch handle altogether. I think it's 377 grams, so it's not light, but it's not too big that it couldn't be on your hip at all times. So it can certainly be the knife that you'd have with you when you're lost, going bush, falling out of a kayak, crash a car, maybe not in New Zealand, but certainly it's a knife that you'd have with you, going bush even for a short walk. This would be something that you could take with you, and then things go wrong, this will hopefully get you out of it. And the sharpened crowbar, like I said, 4.7mm thick steel, 01 tool steel. Williams tempers this one himself. He takes it up to the low 60s, theory being that 01 is certainly capable of being taken up to that, does well with that sort of hardness, edge will last longer with that sort of hardness. And finally, if you're not going to take it up that high, you might as well just use 1095, right? 01 is better than 1095, so it's more expensive. Therefore, if you're going to use it, you might as well push it to its sort of boundaries, its capabilities, and that's being the low 60s. So that's what he's done with this knife. Combat. It's capable of being a combat knife, it's capable of being a soldier's knife. What do soldiers mostly use their knives for? Opening letters. Okay, that's mostly what they use them for. They don't hand-to-hand combat, they don't fight with them, they use them for opening up letters, and they use them for prying open things. Food packets, ammo tins. This one has got a thickened, sharpened tip. It's capable of prying. Now, yes, it's also capable of taking out a sentry or that sort of thing, but it's intended to be able to be used hard and used for things which we don't normally recommend people use knives for, right? So, yes, this will be a soldier's knife. It's tough, it's capable. May need a different sheath than this one. This is a great sheath, but I'm not sure if it would be jumper proofed if that was an issue for your unit. You might need to get a different sheath or make some modifications to strap it in, because this one's held in just by retention. I think to be jump capable it may have to have an extra something on it so it doesn't flick out and go through your chute when you're jumping. But yeah, certainly capable of being a soldier's knife, and the blade, which is showing at the moment, although it's starting to patina a little bit, can easily be blued, so non-reflective. Not a problem. So yeah, could be a soldier's knife. Now, woodsman's knife. What does William mean by a woodsman? Okay, so this is what he means by wood. It's capable of being used for getting wood, firewood, splitting, battening. This knife is designed to be battened. It's got a tip point here, an anvil point to bash through things. It's a knife that can be battened. It's designed to be able to skin animals. It's got a point there, that drop point essentially, but an angled drop point, so you just put it in, slip it along, and it's just going to open up a belly, no problem at all. Clearing branches off of trees, firewood, feather sticks, scraping bark, striking a ferro rod. I've got one here, works well, makes huge sparks. It's got a really good 90-degree spine on this. Essentially it's almost another edge, it's that good. So yeah, woodman skills are pretty much the kind of skills we learn as Kiwi kids. You go out in the bush and you have a knife with you, and this thing you need to make tent pegs, you need to hammer in tent pegs, because someone always forgets tent pegs. Fire, getting feather sticks, chopping kindling, splitting big wood to make small wood, to make kindling, to make tinder, gutting an animal, chopping open an eel that you caught in the creek, smashing open shellfish, filleting a fish that you've caught. This knife will handle all of those tasks. It's a thick blade, so it does need a little bit of thought in how you use it, because it's not going to chop or slice as well as a full flat or a fillet knife or something like that. It's a thick knife, a thick blade, but that's kind of the point. This is what it's intended for. You can dig with it, you can chop with it, you can hack with it. The way William recommends you chop with knives like this is that you put your finger through the little leather strap he puts at the back, hold it there. That gives you a lot more length, but it won't come out of your hand, so you can use it like a bigger knife because you get more momentum in the swing. Now obviously the shape of it is a little bit unusual, and I intend to do a part 2 where I go over what all the different shapes and angles can be used for. And I've been using it for the last month, getting my head around it, because it's a little bit unusual and it's a little bit different. But it's very, very good. But I'll give you a hint about what it's designed from. What other knife do you know that's got a curving up around here, curve around here? A knife that I like. Yeah, it's essentially a very small kukri. Yeah, it took me a while to actually get my head around that, but essentially this is modelled on a kukri, and that's got a whole pile of interesting new aspects that William's put in. One thing that William does really, really well, something a little bit unusual, is he does dual grinds, and this knife exhibits dual grinds. What is a dual grind? Well, it's nothing new. Bob Loveless has done them, Mora Knives has done them, a guy called Mr. Hunt with his XM18 has done them, even the Tom Brown tracker knife I think has them. Essentially, while this is just one angle from here to here, so you just sharpen all at the same angle, this portion is actually the portion that you use up close, and so it's a Scandi. This portion is a standard sabre. This portion is essentially a tanto point, a chisel, or sort of a dual chisel point, but everything's carved or ground at the same angle, so that when you're sharpening it, you just sharpen all on the same angle. But because of the way that the steel's been taken out of the blade, different parts of the blade act in different ways. So you've got sort of more your Scandi, you got standard sabre, and this is still a sabre but it's sort of almost a chisel point, tanto point. William also does ones with different knives, but ones with hollow grinds and convex edges and full flat. So a dual grind is something that he does. It's sort of something that he's been getting into and does really well, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted this knife, because I appreciated that and understood what it was for, and that will be part of the basis of part 2 of the WCSK William Collins Survival Knife Model 033.